Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! Resolve. In the last episode, we learned a lot about the legacy of Genshin Asugi. And we met Kazuma, we talked a little bit to Barricaden, and well, there are so many questions still unanswered. But now we are here at the laboratory, at the forensics laboratory, and we are about to talk to Dr. Scythe's daughter, who is Gorey? Mary Gorey? Something like that. Where is she? No. Mary Gorey, she's not even in the people tab. So, doesn't really matter. Let's just get into it. It's the 2nd November at the forensics laboratory. This place really is creepy, isn't it?
Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the corona probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death.
Iris? Do you think we could change the subject?
What was that?
Dr. Gorey?
What?
That noise before?
I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them.
Right.
When following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please, I'd love to see. Then, I think you'll do nicely.
No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time.
Sir.
Was that a tut? Well, we came here to ask questions, so... Oh, okay, she is really creepy. But that's okay, we can handle it, guys, right? Okay, let's have a look first. A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing?
It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. That's Mama's dissection table. It's too high for me, though.
It is?
If I fell from that height in my sleep, it would really hurt. What, you mean you sleep in here? Autopsy work is very involved. It's usually too late to think about going home when I'm finished. But I have bad dreams when I sleep here, and I always end up falling onto the floor. So I'd like to exchange that table for a lower one.
Maybe you should just go home. Okay. Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liquors or something, or like the pickled umeboshi plums we make back home.
Yes, let's assume there's something completely innocent like that. Ah, that jar you're looking at up all that contains monkey brains. Oh my. The composition is similar to the human brain, so they make for interesting study material. And in the next jar along, we have monkey...
No more monkey anythings, please.
If you say so. Oh dear, the time when I still thought it was just some pickled umeboshi plums seems so long ago already.
Okay. What about these? Look at all the bottles on the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals.
These ones here are all labeled highly toxic.
That's worrying because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there.
Oh yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room. I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes.
Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death. Okay, what about these baskets then? This looks different to before.
Of course, Mr. Naruto. Miss Gorey is a young maiden. She has all sorts of charming little dolls and the like around her place of work, look.
Oh yes, you're right. Perhaps she's not strange after all.
They're how I practice.
Sorry?
Mama always says that operations and dissections require speed and accuracy. So I take out my needle and thread and stitch 3 new dolls every day.
Right.
I used to make livers or kidneys or intestines. But Mama told me to make something more friendly instead. That's quite different to what I'd imagined.
Oh, okay, that's really creepy. What about the owl?
That looks like an owl and a crow up there.
I know, and they haven't even twitched since we came in here.
Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Mr. Naruto.
I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open.
Yes, I think perhaps we were advised to put something like your Dharma doll on display on the office instead.
What about the skeleton then?
Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they? It's 10 people.
Pardon?
It's made from the bones of 10 different people all mixed together. Some of my best work.
I was admiring the case, actually. The scary skeleton inside is something I intended to ignore as best I can.
You're strange. I wonder who is the strangest.
Okay. Okay. We checked out everything, did we? Yes, we did apparently. Okay. Okay, you know me. Time to present things. Could I ask your opinion about this?
Don't forget, you're responsible for putting my mama in jail. Why should I help you?
That is true. Okay, nothing about that. But you sure have something to say, something about the autopsy report, right? Letter of introduction. I don't think there's going to... Nah, okay, let's jump. Maybe you know something about the dismissal notes? You know nothing about that? Maybe you know something about this. Okay, no, you don't. Okay, maybe this? The hairpiece? The revolver, maybe? Okay, maybe something about the... Do you know something about Gregson? Okay, you don't. But the autopsy report, you know something about this? For sure. Dr. Gorey, we actually came here to ask you about this.
He was very good.
Good? Sorry?
His skin didn't snag my blade once, and very little miss. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with.
We can skip those details.
But
there's one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death.
That's not my fault.
Oh, that made me jump.
Then please, tell us what happened.
Okay, okay, we jumped across that then. But I'm still gonna present stuff. But I'm still gonna, at least, this doesn't make sense. Maybe you know something about this? Okay, nothing about that. Maybe about this photograph, Dr. Gorey?
Who's that?
Sorry? It's Inspector Gregson, of course, the victim of the case.
I see. I don't remember the faces. Internal organs, muscle tissue, bullet trauma, those are things I remember.
Well, please try to also remember that I don't want to know anything about all of that. Okay, she at least had something to say about that. I don't think she has anything to say about these things. So we actually unlocked something without knowing. But that's the way we go about things at this channel. I'm sorry guys if you feel offended by that, but I feel like in Ace Attorney it's really important to, to do this kind of stuff. So, yeah. Alright, so let's talk about the time of death. So, why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail.
I was told not to write it.
What? By whom?
Maya Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice, he came here.
Lord Strongheart came...
He said from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on 1st November, when the gunshot was heard.
But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it?
Dr. Gorey? If you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're going to go to the same way as your mother.
Give it here then.
What's she scribbling so furiously?
There.
You've written...
What's she written? Tell us!
Indeterminate.
But...
The details of the autopsy report have been updated in the court record. According to the coroner, Dr. Gorey, an accurate estimation of the time of death is not possible. Indeterminate. Let's talk about it. What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate?
When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy.
What discrepancy?
There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. And that fish had started to rot.
What?
If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off.
Well, yes. What are you really trying to say?
It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death.
Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do?
Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time,
Then only the fish would have started to rot.
with today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not.
But today's science advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems.
But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. And I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory or some other special places. I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street though. I wonder if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow. What might the actual time of death have been?
I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier.
No.
In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruto. That Inspector Gregson was killed the day before his body was discovered, at a different location.
Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility?
He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity.
Oh yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother
Dr. Scythe was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution.
The professor?
Apparently, you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what happened 10 years ago.
That's not all Mama did.
Sorry?
My Mama carried out the autopsy of Clint von Zieks as well.
What? Really? The brother of Lord von Zieks, the professor's final victim.
The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted that it was miraculously authorized.
That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man.
That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event.
What does all this mean?
You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint von Zieks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events.
She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gorey. So we still can converse with her, and we're gonna do that, confirmation of death.
The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and signed a certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her.
But the execution didn't actually take place.
No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want you to know.
Oh dear, you found out recently, you mean?
I believed in her, in Mama, but I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her.
You mean because you omitted the time of death on this autopsy report? But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it.
Just like Mama, I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too.
Yes, that's my feeling as well.
There's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well.
The big man with the little handcuffs, according to what he told us. He was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it.
Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing.
Just who was behind the jailbreak all those years ago? Clint's autopsy. You mentioned the autopsy of Clint von Zieks.
It was a time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims was very unusual.
It's still not a practice that's observed in our country even now.
It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, only as the secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson.
That's right, my daddy!
And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East.
Wait, a visiting student?
It must have been my father, Eugene Makotaba.
I had no idea Professor Makotaba had been involved in something so important.
But the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor.
So that's how they came to identify Genshin Asuki as the infamous mass murderer.
Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more?
Would you like to see the records for yourself?
What? Would that be alright?
What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They're filed under V at the back of those cupboards with the other records from the last decade.
Thank you! Let's see. Van Ziegs. That's strange.
What, Mr. Naruto?
They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Ziegs.
There must be.
Perhaps somebody took them away.
No, no one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room. But you're right, they're gone.
Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember?
It was. Oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day, saying that he'd like to see the records.
No, you don't mean...
Alex Sholmes was his name.
Deep down I knew that was coming.
Do you think he stole the records?
Oh no, surely not. Iris, that can't be right. Can it?
Iris? What is going on, guys?
Bruno? I hope you don't mind, but
What is it, Iris?
I've just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm going to have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh no, there's no need. You and Bruno can take your time here. Bye for now then. Good luck.
Wait a minute, little girl.
Me?
I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you?
Have you, Iris?
Yes, 2 years ago, when that detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too.
That's the way it usually works, yes.
Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash.
Wait, Iris.
I'll bring up a pot for you when you get home.
What's the matter with her? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either.
It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. But next time you come, I preferred you were ready for dissection.
I can't make any promises, sorry. It's a bit strange that the records of Clint Van Ziegs' autopsy have disappeared, but I think we've asked all we came to ask now. Oh, guys. Let's have a closer look at this. Then again, let's not. At least not while she's armed. Okay. So we have done everything here. So where are we supposed to move now? I really don't have a clue, but... I mean... Let's go to the crime scene, okay? Let's go to the crime scene, to Fresno Street. This is so strange. 2nd November, room on Fresno Street. The police are still busily investigating in here then.
But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she?
Yes, it has been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss taught her.
Well, I expect she'll be back before too long. Shall we wait?
Actually, There's something different about this room since the last time we were here, isn't there?
We could always use the time to investigate more thoroughly.
It's this case here, right? Yeah, let's have a look at this then. This little trunk wasn't here before, was it?
Oh, it appears to be made of metal. It must be very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. There's some initials on the outside, look. TG.
Let's ask one of the policemen if they know how it came to be here. Oi, what do you think you're doing? Oh, that's my trunk, that is. Hands off.
Gina!
Where were you? Where you? Sorry, guys. Where were you hiding?
I don't know. You leave something unattended for a few seconds, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry's got its greedy eyes on it.
Just a wild guess, Gina, but
What? Spit it out, Erdo!
is it fair to say that you've only owned that trunk since this morning, the morning's trial?
What? What are you trying to say? Come on, this trunk goes with me everywhere. Always has. Where have you been the last year?
Trying not to incur your wrath, mainly. Well, it's time to converse then, I guess. But guys, we are very close to hit the half-hour mark, so before having a very large episode like in the last few episodes, I'd rather shut it short for this. Sorry. So, if you want to know what it is all about this trunk, you'll have to tune in next time for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Resolve. See you then.